people who have taken an ancestry DNA test and accidentally uncovered a family secret. What was it? My bio dad left his family and 2 daughters in Washington and married my mom in Los Angeles 5 weeks later. I found his first marriage certificate but nothing about a divorce. I am pretty sure he was a bigamist. Not my story, but someone very close to me discovered that none of the ethnic background that they were expecting was present in the results. This person, whose father was deceased at the time, questioned their mother. The mother admitted that the person's father was not biological as they believed their entire life they were older than 40. The mother gave the name of the biological father. My friend then found the biological father, contacted him, and then discovered that they had several 1-2 siblings. The biological father was unaware he had another child and accepted my friend into his family as did the siblings. I found out that my dad is not my biological father. Turns out the family friend I grew up calling grandpa is, oh yay, and he was also my mom's bariatric surgeon. Felt weird, man. I was adopted and always knew I was adopted. My parents told me that I came from a family that had already had all of their kids. They lived several towns over. I was a surprise. 3 years ago my wife decided to take some DNA tests. I figured, what the heck, maybe I am part Zulu warrior. That'd be cool. When the tests came back, I found out I had a first cousin. They had listed a public email. I emailed them, started comparing notes, and wham, I was in for quite a surprise. First, I was not born into a traditional family. Instead, my bio mom was single. Second, I was not a late addition. I had 4 sisters and 1 brother. I was the baby, but only by a couple of years. Third, most all of them lived nearby. Finally, nobody knew I was alive. My biological mom had passed. She had kept the pregnancy secret from everybody else. Before she died, she had confided in one of my bio sisters that she had a baby a long time ago, and she had put the baby up for adoption. She told nobody else. When my sister told the rest of the family, they did not believe her. So when I finally looked them up, she was like, see, all those years, I told you so. We have a baby brother. It was an amazing experience. I had no idea what I was getting into when I sent that DNA test off. I have an uncle that was put up for adoption. He contacted my grandma and she thought he was going to extort her. They re well off. Turns out he is a multi-millionaire on his own. They still have limited contact, though my dad has reached out and formed a relationship. Apparently they look exactly alike and have the same personality, which sounds kind of stupid now that I am writing it out, but they only half siblings. My wife is adopted but found her bio mom and did one of the genetic tests. Someone matched with her and asked if she knew such and such a name. She found out her bio mom's husband was not the bio dad, it was the bio mom's boss. Oops. My aunt discovered that her mother cheated on her father and she was a product of that affair, meaning she was actually only half siblings with her 4 siblings. The rub was that my aunt's husband was married before he married her. The woman he was married to is the daughter of the man involved in the affair, so no one knew this, but my uncle got divorced and then married his ex-wife's half-sister. I guess he has a type. Edit. I realize what I wrote was confusing. Hopefully this helps. My aunt A, her mom my grandmother GM, her dad my grandfather GF, my aunt's husband my uncle by marriage U, my uncle's ex my aunt's half-sister Rex. I took a DNA test and found out GM cheated on GF with another man. Has 4 siblings that she thought were 100 blood related, but turns out they are all only half siblings. The big surprise was that the man that GM had the affair with is the father of X. A new ex growing up and never liked her. X and you were married but got divorced. So now years later, finds out that this woman she did not like and used to be married to her husband is actually her half-sister because of the affair. So you seems to have a type since he unknowingly married 2 women who were half-sisters. I think that is more clear. It is complicated. A woman over in Chicago decided to find out who her real parents were. She was getting close to 60 and realized that there may not be much time left to find her father. So through the magic of ancestry she was matched to my grandfather. She reached out to him and told him who her mother was. He did not recognize the name but dug up his little black book and lo and behold, there she was. So now I have got a new aunt. My male cousin did one and found a female cousin we did not know about. He reached out to her and apparently our deceased uncle was good friends with her mother. Mom wanted a baby so uncle got her pregnant simply as a sperm donor. Female cousin lived a few blocks away from my grandmother. She had met her a few times going around selling Girl Scout cookies or something. My grandmother had no idea that she was buying cookies from her granddaughter. Found out I have a different father. My dad also took a DNA test at the same time and found out his father, of 52 years, was not his biological father either. As it turns out, I come from a line of bastards. On the flip side, my dad used to say my mom slept around and none of the three of us were his kids. Well, thanks to the test, we know all three of us are. I found a half-sister that none of my siblings or mother knew about. My dad had an affair 50 years ago. He is dead now. For us it was not really a surprise. We already have a half-sister from another affair, but for the newly discovered one it answered a lot of questions and gave her some needed closure. We all met a few times. It was pleasant. Not me, but a friend never knew who his father was. Mom had a weekend fling in college and never contacted the guy after, and his wife helped him use Ancestry.com to try and track him down. My friend reached out and the guy was obviously surprised, but flew across the country to meet him. They have a great relationship now. The dad attended his wedding, and they try to get their families together a couple times a year or so. A friend discovered that her father was not really her father. Her mom had an affair and she was the result. It tore her family apart. Her father did not know he was not really her father. No, she was 45 years old when this happened. Not me, but a family friend. He did the test and found out he had a half-brother. Turns out his dad had an affair a while back, and that kid was a product of that affair. A full 100 older brother. My mother got pregnant by my father before they were married. Scandalous in 1960. So, with my father's knowledge of the situation, Mom left town, and lived with my aunt until the birth. Mom gave the baby up for adoption, and then returned home. A couple years later, she married my dad and had 3 more children together, including me. 55 years later, after both my parents had died, my aunt let it slip that me and my siblings that were not the only children of our parents. To paraphrase from Star Wars, there is another. My sister took a DNA test, and a couple of years later she got a hit. Soon thereafter, we met our new big brother and his family, wife, kids, and have become quite close. My son is my 4th cousin. We adopted him as an infant from an agency. Fun to find that we are actually related. My cousin took a test and goes on and on about how she is almost completely Irish. Our grandpa was German. I did heard from my mom as a kid that my aunt's biological father was probably her friend's father. I have looked the family up on Facebook and my aunt looks just that friend. My cousin seems to have no idea of any of this. I do not think my aunt does either. My ex-husband's family were proud of their Dutch heritage and claimed to be one of the founding families of the historically Dutch Holland. His ancestry results did not show any Dutch ancestry. Instead, he had primarily English-Irish ancestry. That my father is a registered sex offender. Parents are divorced. My dad and aunt found out they had an older brother. Long story. My grandfather had a fling before he met my grandmother, never even knew he had a son, went and lived his life, and some near 60 years later, boom, ancestry test, here you go. So another really good story from this one. So, I did the health DNA one 18 months ago because I wanted to see if I had the breast cancer gene, as there is several incidences on both sides of my family. Got my results and became very confused. It claimed I had no Italian despite my father's grandpa coming over from Sicily in 1920. It took me a few minutes to realize what that actually meant. My parents have been together since my mother was 14, I was born when she was 17, and my father joined the military and married my mother, called my mom, and she literally said that is interesting. Then she asked me not to talk to my father and she would explain everything the next time I visited. She did not, and just refused I talk about it. Honestly, I was just shook. I did not see it coming and it was never even presented to be a possibility to me. My sister ended up doing a DNA test and it showed that we were half-siblings. I went no contact with my mother 4 months ago, due to this incident and several others. I have not told my dad, but I realize at some point the truth is going to come out. My sister matched with some of my father's relatives while I did not, so if anyone checks that shit, they are gonna be asking questions. Not me, my wife. A few years ago my wife and I both took the 23andMe test. One of her matches came back with 23, which is high for someone non-family. She messaged him and they started talking. He was about 10 years older, said he was adopted and the only thing he knew was some basic biological info from his age that would have put her mom at 14, but her mom never said anything about it. So the two options were her mom got knocked up young or grandpa had a secret love child. So she asked her youngest uncle, who said when he was a kid he remembered his sister going away for a few months because she was sick and the family just pretended it never happened. He also said that before his mom, my wife's grandmother, passed, she told him all about it. So my wife now has a brother, a sister-in-law and nieces and nephews. X200B, edit typos, edit 2. Several people have asked, my mother-in-law is still around, but my wife does not have the best relationship with her. So my wife wanted to make sure she had all the information before she even approached her mother about this. Because in my wife's words, her mom chose a few crayons short of a full pack. But yes, they talk about it, and after trying to change the subject several times, her mom finally told her what we already figured out. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.